As for arithmetic operators, we do have many different characters that we can use for doing some math inside the JavaScript. For addition, we can use the plus character. For subtraction, we can use the minus character. For multiplication, we can use the asterisk character. And for division, we can use the forward slash character. That will allow us to execute many different math equations inside JavaScript. But we also can use unary operators for arithmetic. So instead of doing total equals total plus 5, I have a shorthand for that. So whenever I want to do something inside a variable and return the value to itself, like in this total receive total plus something, I could just write something like this, total plus equal 5. The result that I have from this one is going to be exactly the one that I have from here. I'm going to get the current value of total, add 5 to that, and then return the result to the same variable, total. That's what I get here. For minus, I could do minus equal 5, same as this other one. Total times equal 5 equals this one, and total slash equal 5, exactly like this other one. And the other unary operator that we use a lot is this plus plus or minus minus, which will allow me to increment or decrement a value. So I have the option to add one more. So let's say I have a variable which is 29, and then if I use plus plus, it goes to 30. I'm just incrementing that. Or I could use minus minus, which would decrement that. Also, for either of those, I could use this as a postfix, which means the sign goes after the variable, or I could use that as a prefix, where the sign goes in front of the variable. Most of the time, that's the exactly same thing. It doesn't matter if it goes in front or if it goes after, but there are some scenarios where you could have the wrong result if you don't pay attention to the small difference that we have for a prefix and a postfix one. So let me show you a quick example of that. Let's say I want to create a function to write the result that I'm going to send to that. I'm just using this function to log a value, and then I'm going to create a variable which is going to be my base, and then I can call write that base, and then I can do some operators. So base plus 1, write that base, or plus equal 1, write that 1, or plus plus, write that 1. Let me also write a final value, just so we know what is the final result that we have for that. If I save, as you expect, I have 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5. So again, I have the function to write where I'm just logging the value, and then I start at 2, so if I call write base, I get this first one, 2. And then I can do base receive base plus 1, which is going to become 3, and then if I write that 1, I get right here value 3. I could have accomplished the exactly same result doing like this, base plus equal 1, which will execute the operation over the variable and then return the value to the variable itself. In this case, you can see I get here the value 4. And the exactly same result that I have here, I could have with this base plus plus. The only difference is that base plus plus works only for plus 1, but if I was doing plus 2 or plus 3, then I needed to use one of those other options right here. But for plus 1, it could be this plus plus, same thing. So once I do this plus plus, I get value 5 once I write that. And then for my final, I'm just checking what is the final value that I have, and as you can see, it is 5. So here's what I want you to keep in mind. Let me delete those other examples, and let me just do this. Base starts at 2, and then I make this base plus plus, and then I write that, and then I get the final value. If I save, you can see, once I write here, the value is 3, and once I get to the final, the value is also 3. Instead of using plus plus, I could do minus minus. You can see from 2 it goes to 1, and the final is 1. As mentioned before, I can use that as postfix, or I could use it as a prefix. So if I do plus plus base, if I save, same thing, starts at 2, goes to 3, and then I write those values. Or I could do the same with minus minus. If I save, then I get 1. Okay, but what is the difference between prefix and postfix? The difference is that whenever I have to use that variable, I'm going to execute the operation before or after using that variable. And here's an example. You might see something like this. First, if I do this, I would advise you to do like this the code. So base plus plus, and then I write the value. That is more clear to everybody. You are never going to have an issue with that. But some developers I have seen doing something like this. I start with 2, and then I call write, and then inside here I use base plus plus. If I save, you can see it is working, but what is the issue here is this. Whenever I call write and I send the base as the variable, you can see that what I'm sending to the write function is not 3, it is the initial value, it is 2. So first I use the value 2, which calls the function write, where I am writing the value 2. And then once it's back, it completes the second part of this, where it just adds one more. And this is why once I get here to the final, I get this final 3. Again, I would advise you to do something like this because it is more clear, everything is clear what is going on. If I do need to use 2 and 3, then I would use write first, and then I would use the plus later. However, if I do want to write everything to one single line, keep this in mind. If I use plus plus, first I call the function sending the base, and after that I'm going to add one more. We are going to have an opposite behavior if I use as a prefix. So if I use plus plus and then base, if I save, you can see that now I start the value with 3, because first it is adding one more, and then I'm sending this to that function. So you can see whenever I get to the function, I already received 3, and then once I get to the final, it is already 3. Same happens with minus, so if I do minus minus base, you can see that the value is 1, and then the final is also 1. But if I use it as a postfix, then first I'm going to send the value, which is going to be 2. After that, I'm going to subtract, and then the final is going to be 1. So that's just the difference that you need to keep in mind between prefix and postfix on this kind of increment or decrement operators.